Hi everyone, this is Katie from Mobile Cause. We're going to get started here now. I am a customer success manager here at Mobile Cause. We're part of I work with the United Way support team here. Just to explain our relationship with United Way, we have a partnership with United Way Worldwide to provide you guys discounted services. So some of you may already be using Mobile Cause, some of you may still be thinking about it. But I am a part of the team that is here to support you. Today we're going to go over specifically how these tools can be used to help with workplace giving. We have our agenda today is we're going to talk about the technology and how it can specifically be used, then talk about your workplace campaign, then go into how it can go beyond the workplace. And from there, we also have a United Way who has been using this for their campaign from the Great Rivers United Way, who will be joining us, and she'll be discussing how it has worked for her organization. So during this time, just so you all are aware, we are recording this webinar, so you will have it for use later on. So if you need to share it with friends, family, coworkers as well, we'll send the recording. We do also have a question and answer box. So if at any time, if you have any questions, please type them in the box and our support team will be answering these for you. We will also have a time here at the end to ask any questions of our expert panel as well. And so speaking of the expert panel, we have several of us on today. As I said, my name is Katie. I'm the customer success manager here. We also have Majel Hine from Great Rivers United Way. Majel, are you on the call? Are you able to hear us? All right. So Majel, we'll follow up with Majel a little bit later. We also have my colleague Kayla on the call here.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kayla Ritchie. I'm a senior marketing manager here at Mobile Cause. I formerly worked at United Way California Capital Region for 5 years in the marketing department. So I'm excited to share how that expertise combined with my Mobile Cause experience really can help you guys.
My name is Majel Hine. I'm the Director of Development at Great Rivers United Way in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
All right. And thank you, Majel, for joining us. So again, throughout this time, we will be, if you have any questions for Majel, myself, or Kayla, just feel free to type them in the chat box, and we'll make sure to get them answered for you. All right. So to start, we're just going to go over kind of high-level technology of what Mobile Cause does and how it works. So how can we help your forms today, help your payroll deduction campaigns as they currently are? So within Mobile Cause, what we do is we have forms that are very easy to create, so you can adapt them for any needs. So you'll see there's an example on the left-hand side. You can put videos on your forms. We have drop-down menus where you can collect company ID or company name, and as well as the amount that they would like to donate each payroll period. And so what's nice is these forms are all digital, so they can be embedded on a website such as a company intranet. They can also be shared over email. So if you want to email out to people rather than having your paper pledge forms, that's another option. You can also have a text-in option at your events as well. So employees can text in at events to get the form on their cell phones and then complete it there. What's nice with this option as well when you're using this with credit card donations, because we can support payroll deductions or credit card donations, we can also have a thermometer that's scrolling in real time to show how much money has been raised from those donations. And if for some reason someone isn't completing a donation, we send 3 reminder messages 1 day, 4 days, and 8 days after the event to help complete the donation. So just all very easy forms that make it easier. Basically, we're just taking your paper pledge forms and making them more tech friendly so you can bring them into the 21st century. And just as another tip, one of the big reasons we recommend having these forms is that if you're having people text in for forms, then you are getting their contact information that will last even beyond their time at the workplace. All right, so here we just have a poll that we'd love for everyone to engage in. So as we're continuing to talk about what the items within Mobile Cause and how it can help support your campaign, I'd love for you to just click on this poll and say which campaign that you would like to what is your biggest challenge for workplace donors? So is it sharing the United Way mission? Is it your donor engagement? Or is it encouraging recurring donations and collecting the contact information? So if you can just click which item is the most applicable to your organization, that would be great. And I'll just give everybody a minute to complete that. All right, so we've just finished collecting the responses here. So it looks like the biggest, so your biggest challenge at your United Way is ongoing engagement with donors after they leave the workplace. So that's really helpful for us to know, and something we'll continue to touch upon as we go through these slides and continue with this conversation. Just as a follow-up, so ongoing donor engagement got 47% of the vote. And then tied for next was sharing the United Way mission and encouraging recurring donations. So we'll definitely, as we're continuing through this presentation, talk about those a little bit more in depth. All right, so now we want to dive a little bit more into the technical side of things. So we've talked about kind of what Mobile Cause can do, texting in, having fundraising thermometers, putting videos on forms, but how do you create that? So here's a look at the technical side of how you can launch that within Mobile Cause. And so just a look at the back end. So what we have within Mobile Cause is a campaign, basically a default campaign setup. So here you'll see there is just an example campaign where you can put in the imagery. So for instance, you have a campaign that goes on several months. You're wanting to use similar imagery but need different forms for different companies or maybe different situations. What we can do is we have some settings where you can put in a campaign logo and a campaign background, so then that will autofill every time you need to create a new form. So whether you need one form for FedEx, another one for UPS, or whatever it might be, you can just have, as you're creating all these forms, a lot of information can default in there for you. So it's very easy to set up. And you don't have to spend too much time with your team creating these forms. So from there, then, once you've started your forms, you can still customize each. So obviously, there's probably some default information you'll want in there. We can put those in there and that in there initially. But then what we'll do is you can go in and customize each form to make it a little more specific. So on this example here, we're actually adding a campaign video. And if you want to see this form on your cell phone, I encourage you to text in. So if everybody can get out their cell phone, you'll just start a new text message to the number 40403. And then you'll text the word deduction, DEDUCTION. And this will get the form on your cell phone, and you can click the link to see through to see exactly what it looks like. But what we're showing you on the back end here is just all the different sections that you can go in and you can update this with how you want to customize it, whether it's a video or maybe an impact calendar, which Majel will talk about here in a little bit how she used that. But different logos, whatever it might be, you can customize it for your needs. And then the last item here is you can also configure the email receipt. So we've talked about the form, the general campaign, but if you need specific email receipts for each of your forms, you can customize that as well. So that example that I asked you to text into, if you actually want to go in and just complete it yourself, you can see this is just a demo we have. So feel free to just check it out yourself, go in, and you'll actually get an email in response back, and you can just see exactly what that looks like. So the idea here is you can even customize the email receipt for specific information that you need to collect and the specific message that you want them to receive. But with that, so that's the technical side, which again, my colleagues Sarah and I are happy to help out with. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to type them in the chat and we'll get them answered. But now I want to pass it over to my colleague Kayla, who's going to talk about engaging people beyond the standard workplace.
Hello, everyone. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is how you can engage with your employees and the workplace giving campaign in unique ways that will really transcend beyond the workplace giving campaign. As you know, more and more nonprofits are entering into the space and are providing options to donate online. So that's why it's so important that we have deeper relationships with your donors and those employees during and after the workplace campaign. The great news is that you already have a large amount of employees that are involved with payroll deduction um, and who are engaging in the campaign, that you can now use these other ways to really deepen your relationship with them. So in the next few slides, I'm going to be going through some solutions for you, how you can add those to your current campaigns. So the first thing is peer-to-peer fundraising. I know you've all heard of peer-to-peer fundraising and probably have an idea about how it's used, but we have some very unique ways of how you can leverage peer-to-peer specific for workplace giving campaigns. Two things happen when you use peer-to-peer as an option. One, you're really able to be donor focused, and the other is you're removing the employer silo of it only happening within their workplace. Um, and so when you give the chance for a donor to share their passion about what they're interested in helping your organization, you really expand it beyond the employee base and out to their network. And then you're also removing the barriers of the employee being able to communicate, what their donation efforts are. So it really does double duty, as I would like to say, and it allows your donor to feel powerful when they have that option. So what I want to talk about are some other ideas about how maybe you've kind of done these things already during your workplace campaign, but how you can actually use the peer-to-peer platform to really accelerate those efforts. So as you know, we always have, United Way's always have like friendly competition between departments during the workplace campaign, or you could do a fun company versus company. And how it's set up is that on this specific peer-to-peer, if you see on the screen on the right, you can see how there's accounting department, HR department, marketing department. You can have those listed however you would like those to be split out. And so your United Way would be able to host this during the workplace giving campaign. Another way is that these specific, what they're raising funds for, could be about specific impact projects you're working on, or even interest groups. So if it's something that you have a really large following at one of your companies for Women United, you could do an entire peer-to-peer fundraising campaign specifically for that. Also, it's something new to offer. Many of the companies may be familiar with payroll deduction and paper pledge forms and all of those items, and maybe new companies are thinking that's not for us. Well, this is something that you can offer to them that is new and exciting and might get them on board, and then also ignite excitement with loyal companies who've been doing this year after year and are really looking for something to kind of spice it up and add something new to the younger generation of people. Again, kind of transcending beyond what traditional workplace giving campaigns have been. What I also want to point out is that for these peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns, these are direct donations that go to your United Way. So they don't go through, payroll. They don't do it like that. So it actually funds you directly, which is great for every United Way, I'm sure, out there. Next up is I want to talk about texting. If nothing else, I want to say that I definitely, when I worked at United Way, would be very wary of saying, oh yeah, I'm going to text my donors. I would just think that was the scariest thing ever to think of. But now that I've worked in Mobile Cause and heard about so many success stories and how it's used and the content that's delivered, I think it's one of the most valuable ways to communicate nowadays. So I'm going to talk to you about how you can use it and also why it's so important. So basically, what I would suggest is you want to be able to connect to your supporters in real time. And that means it's a big difference now because in the way that we work, there's a lot of email and other ways that clutter up the space. So text to keywords are ways for you to have different supporters. They don't have to be donors yet. They could just be people that you're speaking to at the workplace campaign. Enter in a keyword about, let's say, volunteer to a number, and then that way they can get updates about volunteer opportunities. Or if they're specifically interested in health, your health impact project, they can get updates about that. Or interest groups for your young leaders or your retirees. It really has there's such a wide variety of things that you can do. If you look on the screen on the left, you'll see that there is a text update, which I just kind of want to showcase of how you can really deliver value to your donors and your volunteers, because here is a text that isn't asking for anything. It's sharing a video link. So let's say you had a day of caring and you had all your volunteers out there and you took a quick video of everyone cheering at the very beginning at the kickoff. You could then send that out to all of your volunteers that attended, and then they could look in the video, and also they then would have that link to share on social media and just feel more connected to your United Way and that day. The other things are just text updates. You could provide campaign results, outcomes of their donations. You can also do event invites and registration all through your mobile phone. They click right through a link to a mobile friendly form, and it all happens right there in real time. You can also do unique things like surveys and whatnot. So I just want to put it out there that, a lot of times the texting is thinking of, oh, you're just sending it to ask for a donation, much like what's happening with the disaster relief right now. Really, it really can go beyond that to really nurture your relationship with your donors and supporters. More than asking them for things, you're really giving them an opportunity to connect with you. Also, one last thing on this note is just that you can really be able to have them opt in for this option in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be through texting. You could also put this on a form and they could click that they want updates that way. It really is, there's so many different unique ways of how you can capture this information. And what I'm going to cover here is that, text is really powerful, and here are the 3 reasons why. First, high engagement. There is the fact that 90% of texts are read within 3 minutes. And then when you pair that with email, those emails that are sent, those messages, have a 50% more conversions than if you didn't send the text message. So partnering it with your regular marketing communications really has an impact. The second is generating support, particularly from younger generation. It's great to really focus on how donors want to be communicated with. And with the younger generation, text is a preferable way to communicate to them. So by focusing on that, you're really saying that you care about what they want and you're delivering on that. The last is year-round communication. You have this one-time workplace giving campaign once a year. It doesn't have to be a one-time-a-year event you see and speak to these employees. You can have a year-round communication strategy that both combines text and email, and you can also, include it through different items like our peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns that I mentioned. So I hope that that was helpful and that, you can really consider using mobile cause solutions to be able to advance your mission. And with that, pass it along to Majel.
All right. Well, thank you, Kayla. Again, my name's Majel Hine from Great Rivers United Way in La Crosse, Wisconsin. We're a small United Way. Our goal is just a little over $2 million, but I attended a webinar through Mobile Cause that was talking about this non-payment form that we could use as a pledge form with our campaigns. And it was really something that I was interested in because I'm actually a new director of development at the United Way, and some of the feedback from companies was that there was a lot of paperwork going on when you're taking on pledge forms and trying to organize everything and figure out the copies. So being able to develop an online pledge form was really exciting for us. They have a couple of our stats up there. We piloted the online pledge form with 2 of our pace setter companies a financial institution, and also a health system. And both of them gave really good feedback about the quote, "It was awesome," and all of the employees were very happy to see that the paper forms were gone. She said, "On my end, it was super easy to keep track daily with your reports and my spreadsheet. I didn't have to waste 2 to 4 envelopes or have forms go missing." That is also the nice thing about the online pledge form, where you're able to pull a report for the company every morning, and you can send it off to them daily if they have raffles or other incentive prizes going on.
Great, Major. Thank
Sure.
you.
Go ahead, ask away.
And again, anybody who has questions, you can just ask them in the questions set area, and we'll get those to Majel here. I do have a couple questions for you, Majel. Something that we had talked about before was, so you said you targeted your pace setter companies. How exactly did you approach them with this idea, or is it something they came to you about?
Well, it was kind of funny because both of them were already asking for some sort of an online form, that it would be more convenient for them because of the paper. So saying that I had already attended this webinar and it was something that I was working on developing just seemed to fit with both of those companies. And we didn't want to start off with all of the campaigns that we do or all of the pace setters. We just wanted to pilot it and make sure that it was functioning the way that we wanted it to.
Sure. And can you tell me a little bit, how did the employees react? Because you mentioned that the companies really liked it, but did you have any feedback from individual employees about what it was like to use it?
Well, it's very user friendly. The feedback that I got was from the campaign coordinators at the companies, but they heard a lot of positive feedback about how it was user friendly. Mobile Cause, thank you. You were very responsive and helpful with some of the things that I didn't quite know how to set up with. One of the things that you do want to make sure on that email receipt is that you do have the total donation in that email receipt for people, so they can say, "I gave $52 to your United Way campaign." They want that in their email, not just a thank you for your donation. That was about the only constructive feedback that we got back, and you helped us fix that right away.
And then, because something I think is really interesting, and for everybody watching, you can actually see it on the left-hand side in the screenshot, but on your form, you put an impact calculator, just kind of showing how the donations went. How do you think that helped the campaign, or how did that help support it?
I think that people would give donations, they like to know how their money is being utilized or the impact that it's making. So Mobile Cause makes it really easy for you to plug in calculations and pull in fields to be able to create an impact calculator like we did. So what you can do is take the funds that you've distributed to your programs and divide that by the number of utilizations, and it comes up with a number that you can use to calculate the numbers of families that have been helped, or the number of utilizations, however you want to word that.
Sure.
But it was a very positive thing as well, because people could see immediately that they're going to help 20 families or 30 families.
Sure. And is that something, when you had in past campaigns, had you ever, or with just in your other campaigns as well with other companies, do you guys use those impact metrics as well? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a big part of the United Way, is being able to tell people the benefit of donating to the United Way versus directly to partner agencies, how that impact happens, and sharing that information is key.
Sure. All right. Well, Major.
It was also really nice to be able to put up our campaign video out on that pledge form as well, so they could look at that if they were maybe on the fence about filling it out or not. It could have bumped them into filling it out.
Sure, that makes sense. So at your events, were you having people, was this just a form that you were sending out to people, or did you really have people text in all at once to get the form?
Actually, we didn't use the text option very much with this online form. I mean, we use Mobile Cause's text to give just as texting a different keyword, but we just shared the link with the companies, and they were able to send that out in their kickoff email to their employees. There are some things that you would want to make sure that if you're utilizing this non-payment online pledge form, that the companies share how many pay periods that their employees actually have, because some of them don't know. So if you, can we pull up, is that another slide? I can't remember.
Oh, no,
Of our
no, the form. What we can do is if for anybody who wants to see the form, you can actually text in to just see it on your cell phone. We have it at the bottom of the slide there. It's just text. You'll start a text message to the number 40403, and then
okay.
But you can see it that way. But we do, actually, you bring up a really good point, Majel. You can, because one of the questions that we have is, does the payroll deduction form allow for only one donation or one donation per pay period? Which is a great question. Majel, you mentioned that you recommend having the employers let all of their employees know that how many pay periods they have, so that you can just plug it into the form for the calculation.
Yeah, put in, I have 26 pay periods. I want to donate $10 a pay period. It'll give them that total lives impacted, and it makes it so much easier. And it's key information that you need to pull and then provide back to that employer so their HR can do the correct payroll deduction.
Perfect. Yeah. And for everybody who's, we do have a bunch of questions coming in. So Majel used a calculation on there that we can help support put in. It's very easy to put into your form. So if you know the payrolls, the number of pay periods in advance, we can put it in there, or you can inform your company. There's a number of options here from a technical perspective at MobileCause. We can support either whether it's a payroll deduction or recurring giving. There's lots of options for you, and we are happy to help walk through and help you set up that form.
Yeah. And MobileCause, you can create a different non-payment pledge form for each individual company. So if you have a hospital, you can put their logo and have a specific pledge form for them, and then a bank, a specific pledge form for them. Because we're a smaller United Way, we chose to just have the one and share it among all of the campaigns that want to utilize it, which is why we chose to put in a text box versus the drop-down box of being able to filter out people's employers. And the reason why we chose to do that is because with technology, like I demonstrated earlier today, is that there's human error. They could click on the wrong thing on the drop-down box, and you wouldn't know if they work for company A or company B. It would just get mixed up in the shuffle. So we chose to have individuals type in their own employers' names.
Sure. And actually, I think you bring up a really good point there too. That there's always human error. And before I worked at MobileCause, I was working in volunteer management and digital fundraising. And what I know in my experience, having to read volunteers' handwriting was always so frustrating. And Major, because I think you said you still had some paper pledge forms. Did this make it easier to process things so you didn't have to read people's handwriting or any feedback like that?
Oh my goodness, our finance director and office manager love this online form because they don't have to flip through pledge forms. They can just look at the printed out spreadsheet and enter it into our database, and it's pretty great.
Nice, great.
Another thing though, and this is a great online pledge form, but I do want people to note that if you are utilizing it and human error happens, that you can't physically change a person's pledge within it. So if somebody meant to donate $6 instead of $10, you have to have a note on the side to make sure that that is corrected in your final spreadsheet to that employer, because you can't edit somebody's pledge through the report.
Well, now we're going to open it up to just general Q&A. Oh, sorry, no, I lied. I apologize. spoiler alert, guys, my mistake. So before we do that, we actually just want to take another poll, kind of based on what you've heard today and how everything has gone. So on the poll, if you can just say what kind of, if you would like an assessment of your fundraising campaign and your best practices and how this is working for your workplace giving campaign, just select one of either yes, no, or maybe later. And this will just help us get feedback. So I'll give you just a little bit of time here to complete that poll. And again, while you're doing completing the poll, I just want to give a couple reminders. If you do have questions, just please type them into the chat box, whether it's for Majel, myself, or Kayla. We'll get those answered here. And we are recording this webinar as well, so you'll be able to share this with your coworkers and reference it later. And we'll send a follow-up email. All right. So for our poll here is a pretty even spread of people being interested in possibly having workplace their campaigns, helping us. Sorry, I got it. It's a tongue twister today, guys. Sorry. But just a mix of responses here. So we can follow up with you guys about your campaigns. We actually, again, if you have any questions that come up either now, type them in the chat box, or if you want to look into your campaign more specifically, feel free to email us. It's unitedway@mobilecause.com, and we're happy to work through your workplace campaigns and continue with your help. All right. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to open it up to some Q&A. So again, if you have any questions, just feel free to type it in the chat box, whether it's for myself or Majel. We have those. So I'm going to open that up and let's see if we can scroll through here. All right. So a couple of good questions that we'll just revisit here. So how do you account for people typing different spellings or names into the employer line of their pledge? So great question. And Majel, you talked a little bit about this, how you're a United Way, you guys chose to have people type in their company name. So that's one option so that people can type in the name. You can also have a drop-down menu for people to choose from if you know exactly which companies this form will be used at. So then people can just choose which company they're working with, and you can collect that information.
But if they do choose to use the text box, it could also be part of the kickoff email that includes the link of the pledge form where they could say, you have 26 pay periods, please type in U.S. Bank as your employer.
Absolutely. And so great question here. So how much does Mobile Cause cost? So we're happy with the United Way discounted plan. We do, the plans start at $1,100. So if you do want to get started, if you don't already have Mobile Cause, just email us again, unitedway@mobilecause.com, and we can get you going with that. All right, so we're just scrolling through here, making sure we get everybody's questions answered. All right. So I think we've answered all the questions. I see a couple here just talking about specific questions for your Mobile Cause campaigns. For those of you who are already Mobile Cause customers, we can, again, if you have questions and want to go over best practices for your campaign, feel free to just email us, unitedway@mobilecause.com, and we'll get those answered. But before we go, I just want to turn it over to my colleagues, Kayla and Majel. Majel, do you have any last minute tidbits or things you'd like to share about your experiences, whether with Mobile Cause or just with your workplace's campaigns that you haven't had a chance to share yet today?
No, I think just any lasting remarks is it's definitely something that if you're a smaller United Way and you don't have an online option yet, it's a pretty attractive thing to be able to bring on new campaigns because they don't have to mess with the paperwork. We actually just landed a larger company campaign because we had this option. And again, Mobile Cause is really responsive and helpful when you do run into those technical difficulties.
All right. Thanks, Majel. And yeah, I definitely echo what Majel said. We're happy to help support you. One of my favorite parts about working with the United Ways is that we can just expand on what you're already doing. So we can just make your payroll deduction campaigns a little sleeker, a little more efficient. So please feel free to reach out to us if you do have any questions. And again, we will be following up with a webinar so that you can reference this later on. But thank you so much, Majel, for coming and joining us and sharing your expertise. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We're very happy to help support you guys and continue our partnership with United Way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a great day.